Let's see what's cooking. It's time for Yo-Yo Max 12.
Hello, today we're doing Gnocchi Roma. In a medium-sized saucepan, you're going to pour in 3 cups of milk, and over medium-low heat, you're going to bring this to a boil. This recipe comes from a recipe book my husband bought me for my birthday called The Complete Book of Italian Cooking by Sperling and McFadden. So once the milk comes to a boil, you're going to remove it from the heat. And to that, you're going to add a 1/4 teaspoon of nutmeg and a little bit of salt and pepper to taste, and stir that together. Then you're going to add 1 1/3 cups of semolina. Semolina is wheat, and it actually has the texture of finely ground cornmeal and even has the same color as cornmeal, but it's not corn. It's made with wheat. I found this at the local bulk food store called the Bulk Barn nearby. Now the recipe says to gradually stir it in, beating to prevent lumps forming. And it tells you to return it to low heat, simmering gently for 10 minutes, stirring constantly until very thick. But the problem I found here is that as I was stirring in my semolina, it began to thicken immediately. And it became like a super thick paste right away. So there was no possible way that I could simmer this over low heat for 10 minutes because it was already super thick. So I didn't put it back on the heat at all. I just stirred in the semolina, and you'll see it becomes like a super thick paste. And there's no way you could put that back on low heat and simmer it, because it wouldn't simmer. It would just, the bottom would just burn. So I don't know why that happened. Maybe the semolina I used was different from the one that they're calling for in the recipe. I don't know. And then you're going to beat in 2 beaten eggs, and I'm using electric mixer on low here because I thought I could do a better job with an electric mixer than by hand. And then I added 1/2 cup of shredded Parmesan cheese. And the recipe instructions indicate that you should blend this until smooth. And then they tell you to spread out the semolina mixture in an even layer on a sheet of baking parchment or in a large oiled cookie sheet. I'm putting mine into a 9 by 13 inch pan. The instructions are to spread it out to about 1/2 inch thickness, and I think I got pretty close with a 9.5 by 13 inch pan. And then they say to dip your spatula in water and spread it over top to smoothen the top out. And the water trick actually works well. It keeps the spatula from sticking to the mixture. And once it's nice and smooth, you are going to chill it for about an hour. And then you're going to cut out little circle shapes using a greased cookie cutter. I just dunked my cookie cutter into a little bit of butter because this stuff is really sticky. I had tried a serrated edge cookie cutter, you know, with a little flower shape, but it didn't work very well because of the texture. And then you're going to layer the little circles into a baking dish, overlapping the edges. And then you're going to pour over 6 tablespoons of melted butter over the top. This is going to help them get nice and crispy on the top. Then you're going to sprinkle 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese and then 1/2 cup of Swiss cheese over top of that. And then you're going to bake this in the oven at 400 degrees for 25 to 30 minutes until the top is crispy and golden. It smells really good when it's baking. And I left this original sound in on this one so you could hear the sizzling. That's just out of the oven. And it is golden on the top. Now the texture, you have a crispy on the edges and crispy on the top. And the center is a little bit mushy. Now this is not like the gnocchi I'm used to where you have those little round lumps. If you know what I mean, if you've ever had gnocchi before. I think this would make a really nice side dish, but this is not something I would serve as a main. However, the recipe book does indicate that you can. So there you go, Gnocchi Roma.